Okay. The agenda for the evening is fairly short and fairly simple, depending on how you want to look at it. You have before you in the packet all of the suggestions that came in from the public, either by hard copy to me or via the email box that we set up. All in, it was over 150 suggestions. And then plus another 30 from students, and thank you to Mrs. Frost for organizing that with the kids. I think they came up, yeah, they came up with some really good ones, I thought. So if you go through, the first thing you have in there, other than the calendar dates, is the full spreadsheet, all the names that came in from the public, who submitted them, and the rationale they provided. It says in the sheet, see hard copy or see PDF, it's in the back of your packet, they've been copied and included in there. If you go a little bit further, you'll see it's broken out into 3 categories. It's people, places, / things, and then the student submissions. And you see there, they are also ranked. So you'll see how many people either emailed in or voted for those particular names. Some people did email in without any rationale, which is the subject line with the name of the school. So some of them were simple, some of them were full essays or literally full binders full of supporting documentation. So it really did range in terms of input. So in terms of moving forward, the next step for the committee, or the next thing that you need to do, is a second public input session on some of the suggestions that have been put forward. So probably the best thing to do would be to narrow down that list to say, 15 all in, that then could go for a public input session, and then have all of you then narrow it one more time to 5, which then goes to the Board of Ed. Kind of taking it in manageable chunks. And if you look at the list as they're broken down, you see there are some clear leaders in each category based on the public voting. And then I have as well, for those of you who responded to the survey, what you added in and what you thought was kind of the best option. And a lot of it does really line up between what you guys thought and what the public suggested as well. So in terms of paring down the list, I know you also are getting a lot of information to go through right now. So just in terms of getting to a smaller number, I thought maybe the easiest thing to do would be take a look at some of those lower point ones that were just a 1-person write in and say, kind of look those over and think, should we put those aside for now as we try to move towards that 15?
For person, we needed to have
10
suggestions or letters of support.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you'll notice there which ones cleared that threshold. It doesn't necessarily, if it's not quite 10, I think we still keep them in if they got 9 sort of thing. But you'll see there's some clear leaders there, and a couple that very comfortably cleared that threshold.
My name, grab a seat.
We just started. Okay, there's a packet up at that table.
Oh, I can't do it all,
And along with the people, I know for some of you, some of these names might not be as familiar, some of them more familiar to me as well. So there's a sheet with just kind of brief bios on some of the individuals, at least for those ones that are local to Madison. Just to give you kind of an idea of who these folks are. And obviously there's a lot more to these individuals. It was just kind of a quick, this is who they are in brief. You'll also see in the list that I included for you, there are a couple of people who didn't appear in your survey. It's because they're automatically disqualified. One of the ones higher up, Catherine Hart, the current principal of Polson Middle School. We can't name a building after a current employee, so she had to be taken out of the running. Yes.
I see that Martin Glasser is on here. He is as well a.
Yes, I took him out of the running in the survey you got.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, so I took him
Yes.
out as well. So
Sorry.
he can't do it. So those were 2 that were immediately pulled, but I just wanted you guys to see everything that came in, so I left them in on this top sheet for you. So I know kind of breaking down a lot, but we certainly got more suggestions for people that came in from the public. I think that's probably a product of the fact that most of our buildings are named after people. The exception was Island, and then what Jeffrey, when it was Cops and Ryerson, when it was High Hill. But I think depending on how everyone's feeling, we can take a look at these lists, maybe kind of take a look at some of the suggestions that only have a 1 by them, which means that's the only suggestion that came in from one person and one person only. And think about maybe trying to say, do we want to trim some of those out and then move to looking at smaller lists, and do we pare it down a little bit more and then just have a set number that would then go for a public input session?
Am I correct though? Can you, or just clarify? If they have to have 10 letters, are only the top 3 names here on your list? Are those the only ones that are actually able to be put in the running?
1 sec, I'll pull the exact language
Exact
up.
language up?
Yes. That the 10 is a requirement of those individuals who are local. So
Okay,
if there are 2 votes for a president, we can leave them on there,
got it.
sort of thing. The 10 applies to local candidates with a record of outstanding achievement and public service as evidenced by at least 10 letters of recommendation. As it happens, the top 3 are local
Okay.
individuals, so they clear that.
Got it.
But say James Madison, that can be left in the running because
But Taffy Bowes wouldn't be in the running, Rankin wouldn't be in the running.
correct.
Got it.
How about something like the Jeffrey Breyer, oh, because that's not local, okay, got it.
What about like Jacques Pepin, because he's a notable figure, but he's also local.
That one would not require. That's what it was. So particular attention to local candidates, if they have 10 letters or recommended, it's not a requirement, it just means they are lifted over and above maybe somebody else. So the preference of the policy states that we should look at someone like Robert Hale or Warner Lord or Noreen Cucaruta before someone like Jacques Pepin, who is not involved in education, because education is one of the clauses where they prefer we look towards someone who has had a significant impact on Madison education.
Locally,
Yes.
local is preferred.
Local is preferred, but they also do say you can pick a historical figure, etc. I think the point of the policy is to say, if someone has received more than 10 letters, note that in your mind when considering these individuals. And for those folks too at the top who have those larger numbers, and Taffy Bowes as well, if you look through your packet, you'll see those, and even in the charts, those are individuals who took the time and really wrote out and added a lot to those names when they were putting in their suggestion. Whereas a couple of the other ones you'll see as you flip through, sometimes there was nothing by them. It was just a quick spit out of the name.
So when you do look at people, I would say we definitely would want to bring forward the 3 highest vote getters. That would
Yep.
make sense.
Are we comfortable with aiming for say 15 between people and locations to bring for the next input session? Narrowing it down?
Yeah.
And then just assuming that you would pick 5 out of that for move forward to the board.
Now, when we say 15, I had a hard time when I was picking 10, 10 and 10, I couldn't get there.
You didn't have to,
Okay.
like, it was just, I kind of wanted to give you guys that flexibility and see
Do we
where.
have to break it down that way, or can our 15 be?
Oh, no, it can be 3 names and 3, so I think. So we can look at people and say, okay, we picked 3 that we're definitely gonna move forward, do we wanna go look at places now and see if there's a couple of clear ones there and see what number we're getting to? Perfect. So if we take those,
Is there a way to see the Google form that you sent us, the
Mhm.
survey, the results from that, to see were there ones that we all?
Yep.
Okay. That might, if you just took those top ones, that might give us our answer.
Right, not everyone contributed, so I didn't want to use it completely just as the small sample size. But the top three of those who did vote, who got
Yeah.
3 votes or more, were Robert Hale,
Okay.
Noreen Kokoruda, and J. Milton Jeffrey.
Jeffrey's not being knocked down, so I don't even see that as an option.
Yeah,
People have submitted it forward though, so I put it into consideration.
Yeah.
You guys can choose here and now to say,
Okay.
let's not use either of the old names, whether it be Ryerson or Jeffrey.
Did I miss where the voting was?
It came in the email, there was a link at the end.
So I get my whole thing on my phone.
No, you can vote now, here in person. Do we want to just say eliminate a Jeffrey Ryerson, Ryerson Jeffrey?
Ryerson's different to me because it's getting bulldozed.
Correct.
And Jeffrey is physically staying with the name attached theoretically to it.
I don't see why you would change the name of it.
It would be up to
And
the
it's not,
town.
the Board of Ed is keeping the building.
Okay. Where did they, we don't know the plan, so.
No.
Right, yeah, the board has not decided, so I think they'll undergo a process to figure out, you know, what the, but it would be awkward. if
They have
the
two
new-
Jeffreys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And it doesn't say that. It does end up getting knocked down through this process, the gymnasium or the library,
Right.
can't still carry on that recognition, like I see it, something that suggested too.
Yes,
And I know the board has talked about that too, is
Yeah.
the need to recognize Ryerson and Jeffrey at some
Exactly.
point. If that.
What
depending on
about
where
from
that
our
is.
survey, what are the top names in terms for places and things?
places and things from, you guys have to flip one sheet over. Out of this group, the highest ranked was Seaside Elementary. And then, if we want to put a check mark by that one,
Yeah.
And
okay,
then-
we got a couple 15.
yep, let's put a check down.
Uh-huh.
And then the following are all ranked evenly, Neck River Elementary,
Mhm.
Shoreline Elementary.
Yeah.
To Madison Elementary. Woodland Elementary. And Meadowland.
I would say add those then.
So just to, and maybe narrow it down a skosh, just like, I mean, like Seaside and Shoreline are very similar. And maybe it's just pedantic, this is just me, but I feel like this has always been considered like the shoreline area. Like Seaside, this is just me, like Seaside doesn't scream Madison, Shoreline does.
The only thing is, isn't that school in Bridgeford called?
There are a fair number of
There are.
schools that have shoreline in the name or shore, like daycares, pre-K programs all around the area that have that incorporated, so I think that's why you saw the Seaside pop up, it was a way to incorporate it, but while still making it distinctive.
That's fair.
the issue with Seaside is like it does kind of. Sound like it is by the seaside, but it's not.
Yeah, like yeah, I can't explain it, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, whereas Jansen is actually on the Jansen
Yeah,
field. It
Right.
was owned by Jansen's.
yeah,
So I understand your perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
Madison has a beach, we are on the seaside.
So along those lines then, on the property on Mungertown where it's gonna be, you know, what is representative of what's right there? Neck River, Woodlands, Meadowlands, Grasslands?
Yeah.
What else?
It's Jansen property, it's on Mungertown Road, Neck River runs along the back of the property, it's
Yeah.
what splits the lot between what will be the new school and the high school, comes down through there. It
Not
runs up-
woodlands as much, I mean, not that.
It's more wetlands than
Yeah,
woodlands. Wetland elementary.
Let's call it that.
It's like a wet blanket.
I believe Woodlands is actually a reference to a Native American
Eastern woodland
Eastern
Indians that
that
used
used to be in the area, same, and that's why you saw a lot of.
Our little historian here, okay,
to,
Eastern
it was an
woodland.
acknowledgement to the original.
All those stuff, okay.
So I think out of places and things, we can definitely, so if you flip then to, interestingly enough, when you look at the student submission. The overwhelming majority of them are not people.
Yeah.
places, things, which I know,
They don't know.
they don't know, but still, it's, these are the people that are gonna be in the building. It's what they're thinking of, but I think, you see Shoreline appear as the top rank out of Ryerson as well, and it was one of the top ranked out of the public. So I think you bring that one forward, certainly, as we add Shoreline there. You can debate Seaside afterwards too. But just since it's at the top, bring it forward and the public can weigh in on that. Hammonasset also picked up a lot through students, wasn't, so I think, and it was still fairly high from people.
Yeah.
In the public.
Teachers.
Picked
Teachers
up.
at Jeffrey. too.
Teachers at Jeffrey, between either whether it was Riverside, Neck River, etc. There variation smattering that reference river of some form, maybe to pull one.
I like Neck River.
And Riverside is a street about 2/10 of a mile north of there. So, and not directly, no, it's like wiggle. So I think that could get confusing.
Okay,
It does, I didn't vote, but my old district had Clover Street School where the entrance was not on Clover Street.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
GPS nightmare, and so it's just something to,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, that's fair, cross that one off. And that, we gotta start eliminating them,
Yeah.
so, okay,
I think this would flesh out too. My other thought is Madison Elementary School would be hard because we're gonna have more than one Madison school. James Madison, that could be different. I know it's short, but I think, it did get a lot of votes, so committee decides to pass on, I think that'd be fine, but I would express my concern to the board. I think we got to that point.
Well, I'm thinking, let's see if we can, it seems like there's probably a solid at least 10, like, definitely push forwards.
Yeah.
Let's lock that list in,
Yeah,
and then we can just kind of stump for 5 more. Versus it might be easier to add 5 than to try and eliminate
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, we're poking right now.
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so we've got Noreen.
yeah, so we
Right,
have
so I think those 3,
Noreen, Noreen Kokoruda, Warner P. Lord, Robert Grandhale, so that is 3 we have set from people right now, out of places and things. We have Shoreline, Hammonasset, and Neck River, so that's 3. Right there, we're including
We're going on Shoreline.
Hammonasset and Neck River.
Okay.
Same with concern about Madison Elementary, I'd be a little concerned about Tiger Elementary, only because with A, the branding opportunities are adorable, but B, since we do have 2
too
elementary
cutesy.
schools, it's too cutesy and if we're gonna. So I think if everyone's okay with that, maybe getting rid of that one.
I would like to get rid of Green Hill.
Yes, because it's not on Green
Yeah.
Hill, that's another one.
Seaside, I know we're not totally, but it's going forward or not? That was one of the things the committee voted.
Yes, the
Yeah.
committee, voted heavily for Seaside.
It was the #1 teacher and vote at Jeffrey.
seems like that should go forward.
Very.
Seaside and I would suggest we eliminate Sound Elementary School, only because again, a fair number of things in the area are named staff.
Sound school.
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
away.
To name one.
Seaview, there's no Seaview.
There's Seaview Terrace
There's a
somewhere.
Riverview, but it's more like a creek, but I mean, we're splitting hairs maybe.
Yeah.
The Creek Elementary School.
I think between Seaside and Shoreline, we probably have 2 out there for
Yeah.
consideration.
Seaview.
Yeah.
We'll
Cross
get
out.
rid of Seaview.
I don't know how to say this, so that's a problem.
I think that one, it's certainly a nice idea,
Yeah.
but. Get rid of that.
I like this 2-part one.
I do. It's not-
So then we-
Is that an option to rename Brown?
So,
I don't know if Cynthia Brown's gonna love that. If we take it away from
Subcommittee.
your dad.
And-
Yeah.
that was one thing where. Because a lot of these folks from the building is named after them. I looked back to see, why these buildings were named after them, when they were named after them, if anyone is still living locally. And Dr. Brown's children went through the system here, and when we moved to name Polson at the time, which was back in 90s, maybe?
No, Paulson
No.
was 04,
Oh, right, because it was right when we opened the new high school, sorry,
It was
2003,
Oh.
2004.
So you were started there.
I missed Polson by a minute. I was at Old Hand for freshman year
Oh,
and
Yeah.
then, so wait, no, I graduated in 6. God,
It was the year
2003.
Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2003, when we opened the new high school, then we had to name Polson at the time.
Yeah.
When that occurred, and the Brown Intermediate School has always been Brown. It has never changed names. It is always, when it was built, it was named for Dr. Brown, who was the superintendent in the district for over 25 years. There was talk about moving that name down to the Polson building, and at that time, his daughter had written in saying that she wasn't expressly opposed to that, but would like the name to remain with the building that her father taught it. And that was named for him,
And she is,
and she is still alive.
She's still,
She, you know,
she's 83.
yeah, and she lives in
wow.
Pennsylvania. And that's the one where, the names too, just to circle back quickly, of the suggestions, for Noreen Cocaruda, her spouse wrote in agreeing that to name the building in her honor if we went that way. As did Robert, Hale's spouse wrote in and said she would be honored to have the building named for her husband. Warner Lord, to the best of my knowledge, is still alive, and I did put in a phone call to the number that is associated with him. I just haven't heard back yet, just because if somebody goes, oh, absolutely not. We certainly don't want to go down that path. So we wanted to ask that question before we got too far, you know, we all had to start again. But for those big ones, I know.
So we can cross this one. Oh. New Lee Academy School.
I think the actual Lee Academy might object to that.
Hmm.
That it still exists downtown on the Great Street.
Can we just go, did we talk about Mungertown Road?
We did not, I think we're just kind of going down, I think. The ones we have that we haven't vote kind of made them. Mark on yet, we haven't talked about if we want to keep Madison Elementary, yes or no, just
Well,
because,
Cook voted that down, right?
all right.
I don't get a vote.
No,
But jump into that one.
I think if we're gonna, it shouldn't just be
Got it.
Madison, if you're gonna do it, make it
It
James
doesn't,
Madison.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
We're not gonna-
No.
It's sort of elitist.
That's-
Yeah.
Certain kids going to Madison Elementary, certain kids being like, oh, well, I'm going to the kind of like side. actually,
Yeah,
school."
back to
And even that, not that we already crossed it off, but the South Madison versus the North Madison just perpetuates this south-north rift that
Game of
naturally
Thrones,
is.
right,
in
yeah,
town,
right,
so, you know.
So I think that one. can go.
Mungertown Road Elementary School is a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a mumbly.
I don't know that a lot of kindergartnens can really say that well.
It's also not the most lovely.
Yeah, it doesn't really rule up.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
so scratch that one and then
So then we're down to Newly Academy, we scratched off.
scratch that. Woodland,
Had a. From the committee or no? It was, I had to start next to it for the committee,
yeah,
meeting.
we can leave that one
I
for a
like
second, yeah, I think
I think, yeah.
Jansen Elementary, would we want? Any strong thoughts on that either way?
They already have a field.
There we go.
Fairfield.
And then Dolly Madison, kind of the same thing, I think, scratch that.
Agreed.
And then Meadowland,
Was a committee favorite. I
Yeah.
can start.
Okay.
so if we,
Yeah.
so then what would be left if we kept all those would be Shoreline, Hammonasset, Seaview, Woodland and Meadowland.
Neck River Elementary.
And Neck River, thank you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I thought we were doing Seaside, not Seaview.
Yeah.
Yes, we are,
I mean,
Seaside,
Yes.
yeah. So we've got Shoreline, Hammonasset, Neck River, Seaside, Woodland, Meadowland. No tiger.
Love it.
no, type of 6, done.
Meadow.
And 3
Little
names.
bit.
And then
So we're up to 9.
that's 9, yeah.
We wanna go through the students ones real quick and see if there's 1 or 2 we wanna grab out of there that aren't, some of them overlap with what we picked for places already anyways.
Yeah.
Again, so we just get rid of any of the ones with Madison or Tiger and Riverside quickly, Mungertown, we got rid of. Hammonasset's a duplicate. Shoreline, two.
Sandy Way is not
That, yeah, I just,
as appealing.
no,
It's the Sandy Hook and I don't want
Mm.
very much
to. That's a community.
Um, Connecticut Avenue, that's an actual street in DC, I'm pretty sure, so I think.
What?
Bought with the Ryerson, I think we do have to get rid of that one. Appreciate that these kids probably traveled, but I don't think we can go with that one. Tiger Elementary School, we cross that again.
I'm gonna say Beach Elementary.
That's kind of a duplicate of Hannah anyways, so just eliminate that one.
Strong school, there's already strong field.
Yep, so I think that one goes.
And there's a strong school of
Yes.
HK.
Yes.
And Durham.
Oh, well, yeah.
Everything, we always have to think it gets abbreviated, right? So.
Yeah.
Name an asset would be Campbell probably.
Yeah.
It's just what good to say.
I was saying before that my husband said when they were naming Polson, PMS was a consideration because. But, you know, he said it was up in discussion at that time. So,
Must have been fun for the committee.
these things, yeah.
Were there any other ones? Jeffrey, based on the ones we eliminated versus the one we kept, that kind of mirror what's been selected already, are there any other ones from the Ryerson list that you think? You'd hold on to for a second? Some of them,
Is Mountain Laurel the state flower?
it is, I had to
It
Google
is,
that.
yeah.
Clearly, you can see the third graders who are learning about the state. Along with white oak. And just for so the committee knows what you guys selected out of that. The Seaside was a popular one amongst all of you, as was Meadow Valley and White Oak.
Oh, wow. Anything on that?
Either way.
Charter Oak is the
Mm.
state tree, I think. If I off the right, I'm just sorry, but.
There are a lot of white, do you have any arborists around here?
Yeah.
A lot of White
Yeah.
oak or something?
Interesting.
The white oak is also Connecticut state tree, the charter oak.
Okay, yeah.
The white oak is the state tree of Connecticut, Illinois, and Maryland.
Not enough trees to go around.
I love it, they came up with some really thoughtful. very
Yeah.
white oak.
They're paying attention in class, we appreciate that.
Okay, so we got a lot of stuff from Jeffrey, it looks like. The only ones that might have made it was Willow Side, that wasn't already.
Yeah, it wasn't
named,
already,
And James Madison Elementary School looks like the only two that maybe went forward from.
yeah, so we could leave those and then go, if we go down to Ryerson, are there any, so Shoreline has already been
Yeah.
kind of pulled up. We have Meadow, so there's Meadowland and Meadow Valley. Does anyone have a preference on a land versus a valley?
I think
Meadow
Meadow
Valley.
Valley,
There is no valley.
No valley.
I
But
know, but the
Meadowland was-
Meadowlands makes me think of the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Oh,
That's
okay.
it, that's it.
Meadowland was
They're not actually
a
doing too
committee
well, so we don't associate.
favorite, if my
Yeah.
star is correct. But did not think about the Jets. And we don't have a bad, so.
There's no valley, so we'll go with land.
Yeah.
So Greenway Elementary, I'm assuming that's a reference to the Shoreline Greenway Trails, anyone? Greenway, yeah, I think we could leave that with Seashore, I think we've kind of already picked our water-based ones that we like.
Seaside, is close enough, George.
George Washington, how do we feel about the first president? He's got probably a bazillion schools named
Yeah.
after him.
Yeah.
Boardwalk.
Boardwalk,
Are we having a
No.
boardwalk
Or
anywhere on that school?
we don't.
Not that I have been a part of.
All
Are
right,
you gonna incorporate that? Okay. Robin Hill.
Robin Hill. Is that the state bird?
The robin is the state bird, I think, but Hill, I'm not so sure. It's not.
Even though it's not on, it's very fun.
I mean, Green Hill eventually goes up, but it's a state.
Robin Hill, almost sounds like a name, like.
Sounds like Robin Hood.
Like,
Yeah.
it's Robin Hood, or like a street that it would be on. Was there any was there any description on any of that?
Not from the students for the most part, no.
Rocky Water, something turmoil.
Yeah, I think that. Along with, I think Sea Rock and Shoretown can probably, like,
Yeah.
Madison, Maine.
I appreciate the fun.
Yeah, well, that one. For some reason, I think the architects are gonna object to that one, doesn't really sound good.
Yeah.
Waterside, the first time I read it, I thought it said water slide, and I was like, that was bad.
I voted for that.
Like,
I would have made it through.
Best playground
I
ever.
was like, No Rainbow Elementary or?
No, they were very, very
Very
serious.
serious,
Right, Coastline,
Not so bad,
Not so bad, yeah.
we keep dancing around this
But-
water thing.
we have a lot of it.
Yeah,
Seaside is.
Yeah, we already have, Seaside, Shoreline.
Go through
If-
for the next.
I was gonna
for
say,
this meeting.
if anything, if we wanted it, I would swap it for shoreline.
Are you
Just
like
'cause it's a little
coastline
more
more than
unique.
shoreline?
Yeah,
Or sure, wait, does shoreline and seaside
Shoreline.
read it?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we could just put
Well, we could
stuff,
just
we
put it out.
crossed it a lot, let's do a reland it, Mountain Laurel. Anyone
I-
strong thoughts on that?
I like it, rolls off.
It's cute.
Right,
And then we have Hamanesset Beach was close
which
to
is the campus, right?
Yeah.
High school.
White Oak,
I like Charter Oak better, but that's probably not.
what?
I like Charter Oak
Just
Elementary.
that's a name somewhere else, I don't
It's
know.
credit
Oh.
union.
Credit union, thank
Credit
you.
union, never mind. That one might also be confusing. White Oak is fine.
What was it? And then James Madison has appeared in both, and I think I think that one can move forward, not as Madison Elementary, but James
Yeah.
Madison.
Sure.
Move that forward, I'll put it back under names instead. Right in, James Madison Elementary, let's put a check by that, so now we're up to 4 in the names.
Regarding James Madison, just the way that it seems to happen, J. Milton Jeffrey, we call Jeffrey,
Yes,
Walter C. Colson, we call Colson. Is that gonna then go back to your issue with Max?
I was about to say the same thing, yeah.
I think it's
gonna
well, but I
end up-
think this is definitely something we'll vote for,
Of
maybe at least move it to the next
Yep.
round and we
Yeah.
can express that concern, right?
Yep.
So then we're up to 4 in the names, and then from our first. We had 6 for places and things, and then. Just looking at. So what was left of the student suggestions that we kind of hadn't decided one way or another, we had Willow Side.
Willowside and James Madison Elementary School for.
Yeah, and I
Jeffrey.
crossed James Madison because we put it in with names, so
Yeah.
the only one left with no
And
vote
Willowside.
in Jeffrey is Willow Side. And under Ryerson, we had Greenway Elementary,
Robin Hill.
Robin Hill, or did we decide no on that one?
I was a personal fan of Robin Hill. I liked Greenway and Mount Laurel.
I think Robin Hill, can we cross that one, do you think?
You could cross, okay,
Yeah.
with cross.
Okay. So we're left with Greenway,
Greenway,
Coastline Elementary, we want.
Oh, yeah, I was just researching.
I feel like we have shoreline and
I don't-
seaside
Yeah,
already.
that's-
so we
Okay,
sort-
Coastline, that leaves us with Mountain Laurel and White Oak. So we have.
Yeah, that's-
Of these, we have Willowside, Greenway, Mountain Laurel, White Oak. Do any of those? Does anyone have a strong preference on which, maybe 2 out of that?
Willowside and Mountain Laurel?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Willowside, so that's 2 from, so we have 2 from the students, 6 places and things. 8, so we're at 10. Once you have people, I think we've selected 4 people, maybe we want to go ahead and pick a couple more for the people suggestion.
I have
Looking at
12.
I have,
Yeah, I have
Sorry.
12 too.
I've got 2 for the students.
Yes, this is what happens when I do math at the end of the day.
Well, I'm like, just if it makes a difference.
Nope, that does make a difference, thank you. So then why don't we say to 3 more names? To add to the list.
Taffy Bowes was the next runner up.
Sure. I think, did we decide we're gonna probably eliminate the Jeffrey Ryerson, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just take all of those out.
And then
Oh, Mr. Hirschman.
Bob Wolf seemed to have gotten some strong, like.
Yes.
The letter.
Yeah, I saw that and it was, I also saw someone call it Wolf Elementary, which I thought was like a really nice name. And it also like combines the tradition of like naming schools after people, but it also is something like, oh, Wolf Elementary.
Yeah, you go ahead with that.
So we have Wolf, James Madison, Taft, Hale, Lord, and Noreen. 6.
I was just quickly Googling. I haven't done extensive research, so I don't know if there are any skeletons per closet, but I like this idea of Alice Palmer. You know, historical figure that looks like she did a lot in terms of opening doors for women getting into college.
Mm.
And I just like the sound of it, Palmer Elementary School.
Palmer, yeah, because that's another thing too, I think a lot of these people, they write in a lot of suggestions are great. You, like, you gotta say them out loud each time too, you need to hear what they're gonna sound like
Yeah.
when a kid says them. Or basically anyone, which I know that there were a couple write-ins for Jacques Pepin. The question of how many people who don't speak French do you wanna hear try and
Pepin.
Pepin, it's gonna be Pepin Elementary, that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Cause that's,
The note about the three that were about, with the, like Fuller, Wright and Palmer.
Mhm.
I did do some research on those and I'm pretty sure none of them lived in Madison, which doesn't cross them out at all. I just thought it should be noted.
yeah, those are definitely just historical figures that were put forward, they all came actually from one person who really did a lot of research and had some
Yeah.
suggestions on those, which is great, it was one of the, actually the first ones to come in. One thing about Wolf Elementary. Where the tiger,
Oh,
I did, I was like, oh, we're like now expanding our. Yeah,
that's gonna be an issue. Just an unfortunate last name.
The Wolf Tigers.
Wolf, sorry.
It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid.
like the coy wolf.
I mean, I think that is a deal breaker for anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I think it's confusing.
Yeah, are we okay with maybe crossing that one off? Are we okay with crossing out Jacques Pepin?
Yeah.
Already did, sorry.
Then just kind of looking at. Some of the other. Do we want to put taffy bows in?
I think so.
Okay. Right. So right now I have Coparuta, Lord, Hale, Bose, and James Madison.
And Alice Palmer,
Do we want to do,
the research.
I know he's on the bottom of the list, but I would like to just bring up Mr. Pisano.
Yes.
Cause he had a huge impact. Just by nature of being the head of the music program at hand. He had so many students, you know. You know, certain points, the band was in the hundreds of students per year. So he was really impacting a lot more. I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this, like. He was working with, well, no, because everybody, like large groups at once, I don't know, I'm not phrasing it well, but like he really did impact a lot of people, and I know that Madison has always had a really strong, through all the levels of education, a really strong music tradition. And pushing that as really more than an extracurricular activity, and something that I know kind of as I went out into the world and talked to people and their experiences, very few people have had as much music education in their lives compared to, I think, a lot of people that have graduated from Madison. And I think that's been a big impact. And going forward, I know personally I would love to, and whether it gets named this or not, just in general for the schools, I would love that tradition to continue to push. And because music really is such a great way for students for self-discipline and just general learning expansion. It's a tremendous impact, and it's a lifelong skill for a lot of people. So I think that's something that's really positive.
Well said.
well, as I have it now, we need probably 2 more to hit 15. So. We want to narrow down. Really quickly, just kind of at the bottom, so if we could leave. There's no decision on that one yet, but just a couple, I think, to take off probably the list pretty quickly. Nixon Elementary, I understand the rationale that they submitted with it, but that's not gonna be the first thing on people's mind. Paul Sincroft was the principal of Ryerson School. Actually, rather recently, he was principal before, Mrs. Spooner, so that's maybe not a
Yeah.
obvious one, I think. Jonathan Miggs, again, we have plenty of things that are named that in the area. Mary Scranton, the library was named for her father. Captain Frederick Lee, again, we have the Lee Academy already, I think that can be eliminated. Phoebe Munger, I think we have the same mouthful as Munger Town, sort of thing.
That's Cindy Gardner, I think. I don't think it's Garber, I think it's supposed to be Gardner.
Okay. And again, now we're down to the ones that have just received one. She was a teacher in the district for a long time, certainly.
Lovely.
Yeah,
She's got grandchildren and Jeffrey.
yes.
Okay.
Gleish,
Gleish, position in town.
position in town, not necessarily involved in education.
His daughter is a teacher at my school.
Really?
People do light up when they talk about that man.
Huh.
But he was a physician in town, not an educator.
Yeah.
Okay. Yadi, obviously, most people are probably familiar with that, but only one and certainly no more for athletics and
Right.
academics, so maybe not.
Yeah. I agree.
Alexis Christina, I believe, was the principal of Islandia.
She was,
Yes,
yeah, before they posted.
before they closed.
Actually,
And
No, I was.
I
the
knew
principal.
Careful, careful.
Yeah.
I
was slow on the draw.
But again, that was just one, and it was one that I know there wasn't any rationale given with it, it was just a name put in, so I think. And then the remainder there, again, are just, are longtime staff members, where maybe it was a name, if you look at the full sheet where there was no rationale with it, or it was a short list.
And they're all lovely humans.
Exactly.
No, well, not Jeffrey.
And, in case anyone was curious, in case you are asked, because I did look it up, people asked me, why were the buildings then named for Jeffrey and Ryerson? Actually, I started by looking in this when they actually sent me all the information on Warner Lord, because he took over as principal after Jeffrey. The building was named Jeffrey as a gift upon his retirement. Oh, that's when they turned it over. So there's a picture of him and Mr. Lord shaking hands on like page.
This is Nancy Bastian.
Yes, it is. So anyone is welcome to take a look at that, look through it. It's really great.
There's even a picture of Mr. Lord highlighted.
Yeah, oh no, they are pointed out, there's lots of news clippings, all things like that. See Jeffrey with his cops for the school. So if we look at all that, I think then what's left in the running is, Dr. Rankin, of like things that haven't been crossed off, and towards the top, Dr. Rankin, which we hadn't made any comments on either way. I have not had any contact from his family. They are easy enough to contact and ask how.
I have a Rankin family at Jeffrey, now I wonder, is it?
It is.
the same?
grandchildren.
Yes, it's his grandchildren. He passed away a couple of years ago. He was well known for his work with Hammond Asset here. He did some work with Sarah Sandora when they would do the Hammond Asset units. He'd help weigh in as well. That's just one item. Dave DeLessio, obviously staff member who passed away in 2020, his wife still works in district. Marjorie Laws was a longtime staff member of Ryerson, was my understanding, if I'm remembering. All these research. Yes. So maybe like geography, that's that one out. Okay.
How many more are you looking for?
2.
I mean, Dr. Rankin had, had 4. I suppose.
And he has some nice substantiating information in here too.
There are a couple of long letters in there.
Yeah.
Got it, yes. We want to put Palmer in, I think I like the sound of the name too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Palmer. 6. Then we say Palmer, maybe I'll say no to the other historical names
Yeah.
submitted there, you know, so that gives us two historical names, James Madison, Alice Palmer.
It's good, good variety here.
Yeah, mix it up. And then do we want to go with Rankin since it was then one of the higher, yeah, that one? Okay.
Family still in town.
It's in this, the young kids in town. I always hear fun stories coming. And my husband speaks about how he was a good guy and
He was very,
Yeah.
he was very engaging, very friendly,
took
did
care
a
of the
lot,
kids, no matter who.
yeah, a lot of community service work.
Yeah.
Very interesting gentleman.
I mean, I feel like we have so many good, like, or amazing people on here, and it's hard to say, which we should pick, just because like, I don't know, all of these were impactful, but yeah, I think, certain people got a lot of, like, letters and like, put a lot of thought into, what they wrote and seemed very passionate about the name, so I think, yeah, it would be a good idea to include.
So we have our 15 and they are be pushed forward for further consideration. Noreen Kokoruda, Warner P. Lord, Robert Graham Hale, Taffy Bowes, James Madison Elementary, Dr. Don Rankin, Palmer Elementary, Shoreline Elementary, Camanasset Elementary, Neck River, Seaside Elementary, Woodland, Meadowland, and Willowside and Mountain Laurel.
Nice.
And there we go. Okay, so then only one more thing you have to do and then be out of here quickly, is regarding the public input section. The policy dictates there should be roughly 2 public input sections. In theory, everyone can always comment at these meetings. And they have the ability to email at any time, send letters, submit public input that way. It might be beneficial to have one meeting like this where you open it up and say for an hour, the public can comment and weigh in on the 15 names that are suggested. So what I would do is I'll take the 15. I'll call a public input session. It's not necessarily a public hearing. They just get to come in. They can either do it via Zoom or in person, weigh in, give their thoughts on one of the 15. You guys take that into consideration and then use that to narrow down to your 5. How does everybody feel about Tuesday, December 12th? I know originally I had suggested the week before on the 7th, but my concern is based on noticing requirements in the local papers and the fact that it is Thanksgiving next week. Everyone's print deadline is messed up. I don't know how quickly this will run and that might leave us with a really short window to hit the 7th. So then you have the input session on December 12th, which is a Tuesday. Your next meeting is then that Thursday, so you can then hear everyone's thoughts, formulate your own, come back, make a decision, break for the holidays, meet once more, and then present to the board. How do we feel about the 12th?
What time on 12?
I was looking at 4:30 or 5.
Okay, I was just curious.
Alicia is in, so am I, for that date.
Thank you, Alicia. Sorry, that's not the easiest to weigh in via Zoom with this. Let me see. I had to put a hold on the room. Let me just see what time I had picked. I put a hold on the room from 4:30 to 6:30. We do have a hard stop at 6:30 because there is a committee meeting that happens afterwards. We could say 5 o'clock. We wanted to say that some people are done with work, have a chance if you want to weigh in, come by before dinner and then head out. We'll get from 5 to 6. Correct. 12, 5 to 6, and then that also will allow some of the other committee members who are having trouble with Thursdays to be present for that one. And then Thursday, December 14th would be the next time for all of you to weigh in. I was thinking even that one, I know there's some conflicts that are starting to pop up with that one, so maybe we could do that one all via Zoom. People certainly can still log on the same way they can here and watch, and maybe a little easier, especially as we get towards the holiday days. I know people start really getting busy.
And when you push out that there's gonna be this, you know, information share evening on the 12th, do you say what the 15 names in consideration are?
that is up to you guys. I think
Because if somebody comes thinking that, I don't know, Bazzano is still in the running,
That's a good.
and then they
point.
show up and it's,
I think we should probably put
Yeah,
15 out.
Yeah.
and maybe you put the stats, out of 150 submissions, the naming committee has narrowed it down to these.
These
I think that's
15,
good, yeah. right.
all of them have received multiple bids of support, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll go with that. Is everyone okay with that, is that the way forward? Okay.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime too, as we wait for that actually info session, I will make contact with Don Rankin's family, see how they feel about it. Hopefully hear back from, Warner Lord, and I'll also contact Tappy Bose. To see in case anyone raises their hand and goes, absolutely not, which would, take that one out of the ride. Any other concerns anyone has?
No, it's good.
Thank you, it's a lot of work, so.
Okay, and then there are no members of the public online. I think I'm technically the public, I think I've spoken enough, so I have. And that's it, would you like to adjourn the meeting for me? If I dominated your chairmanship, sorry about that.
No, meeting adjourned.
Perfect.
Cool.
5:33, everyone have a great evening and a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Yes, everybody enjoy it.
It's right in here, there's like the wall in Jeffrey that probably still the wall that